So, good afternoon and welcome. It's time for us to start this webinar. The title of this webinar is 7 Steps to Success when Launching an IoT Solution, and it's hosted by Lumen Radio. Before I'm handing over to today's speakers, I just want to inform you that you have the opportunity to ask questions. There is a question mark icon on the GoToWebinar control panel that you can click, and you can type in your questions whenever you want. And the attendees will not be able to see your questions. It's just us that's handling and hosting the webinar. They will see your questions. We will answer the questions in the end in the Q&A session. So just hang in there and enjoy. And I'm now handing over to today's speakers, Niklas Norlén and Alexander Helstrom from Lumen Radio. I think the stage is yours, Niklas and Alexander.
Thank you, Lars, and very welcome to this webinar. And I'm standing here beside my friend Alexander in the Lumen Radio studio of webinars.
Hi, Niklas, and hello, everyone.
Well, let us introduce ourselves. As you see, we are two handsome men in our best ages, so to speak. And Alex, well, who are you?
A computer engineer who is very passionate about how new technology, which we will talk about more today, and business can be combined into, creating some real awesome benefits. And I've been working with those kind of emerging technology for quite some time. Back in the 90s with internet, e-commerce, things like that. And now talking about Internet of Things and how that can be turned into real cool business ideas and positive effects.
Yeah, business and technology, that sounds great. Me, myself, I'm a little bit more from the technology side. I'm an electronics engineer, focused on hardware and wireless connectivity. I have a background from Ericsson, where I started as a young engineer back in the 90s. And eventually I founded Lumen Radio in 2008. And I've been working with wireless technology for 2 decades, I would say.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm hold the position CTO of Lumen Radio by heart. I'm the CNFGO. That's the Chief Nerd Frequency Geek Officer. I just love frequencies, I would say.
So we do.
Yeah. Okay. Over to another friend of ours, the good old Plutonius. He said something quite interesting, I would say. Knowledge, if it does not determine action, it's dead to us. Quite dramatic, but what does that mean, actually? Well, it means that, we need to gain knowledge to get us somewhere, but without an action, the knowledge is pretty useless, I would say. Or what do you say, Alex?
Yeah, well, that's quite often. And there's a lot of interest in different topics, but, you gain some knowledge, but if you don't do anything with that knowledge, nothing will really happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully all of you attendees to this webinar, try to use this knowledge that we will share today and tomorrow, see what can be done.
Yeah, and that's the focus of this webinar. Concrete actions you can take. You get some knowledge to get some concrete actions. So, and during the day, we will actually take, a footstep in our building blocks of MyOS. MyOS is our operating system for IoT. That is kind of, similar to Windows for a PC or Mac OS for a Mac, so to speak. So that is what we do. And we built MyOS to make it easy for you to start with IoT solutions. So, and just to start, we're going to start with some, business intelligence, what's happening in the world nowadays. And me and Alex, we just attended the Smart Building Conference. This was quite exciting. What do you say, Alex?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very exciting conference down in Amsterdam, one of the largest conferences when it comes to home automation and automation in general.
Yeah.
This conference is each and every year, and this year was, the head topic was smart buildings to smart cities.
Yeah.
As we see that there's a real dramatical development in connecting products, our customers' products in the buildings. Of course, this was a very, very interesting conference for us. So we'll share some of the, insights and so on from that.
Yeah. But, IoT is really happening for real now. And we see that all over the business. It's not just smart buildings. You can see that in, industrial automation and so forth. It's starting to happen right now.
Absolutely.
But just going to give you a quick trend report from a Smart Building Conference, what we talked about, because there was some quite interesting topics there, actually. And to start with this old man, not really a friend of us when it comes to the saying, we shape our buildings and afterwards the building shape us. It's time to cross that old truth, because what we see in the future, we will need to create buildings that will shape after us. And that was what was talked about much at Smart Building Conference. Use technology in a smart way to make the buildings intelligent instead of just smart. You connect all the systems in the building, and it is a little bit like Nikola Tesla said, when wellness is perfectly applied, the whole earth will be converted into a huge brain. Very much this is true for buildings as well. When all the systems are connected together, then you will have a really intelligent building, just like a human brain, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. And this has been applied in this building. This is the Edge building in Amsterdam. And I would say this is one of the smartest building ever done. And what is interesting here is exactly that the different system is integrated together. So a sensor for light controls can be used for HVAC, and it can be used for other things as well, for facility management and so forth.
And what is quite important with this building also, I just want to add, is that this building is now to this day the most sustainable building in the world.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure that within a year or two there will be other buildings that are having a higher index when it comes to sustainability. This one is at 98.4 on a scale which an institute called BREEAM have for certifying buildings in sustainability, among other things.
Yeah. And sustainability is quite interesting here, because what we talked about much as the conference is, what impacts has different savings and improvements in a building. And we have the 330-300 rule. And what you can see here is that, when it comes per square foot, $3 go to energy, $30 goes to the building, that is the rent and so forth, and $300 go to the salary, and which is, productivity in the end. And, doing the simple math, if you can do a 10% decrease of energy, you will say $0.3, which is not that much, compared to 10% increased productivity. That would be $20. And you said, this is the most sustainable building in the world. And what's important here to understand, yes, it is a sustainable building, that is important, but that is also important for productivity and the people working there. Yeah. So there is quite a relation between the sustainability and the productivity, the people working there.
I also will say, if you go back in the days and look at automation, building automation, most of the focus has been on the left side.
Yeah.
You don't get the big benefits compared to if you focus on the the productivity on the individual.
Exactly.
And there's a huge gain to get.
Yeah.
If you start to go up there to the right.
And this is a trend. That's just saying. A few years ago at the same conference, we were talking about energy savings.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, and the closed system, the HVAC system, the light system. But now we're talking about productivity, increase that. And what's interesting with this, going back to the Edge building, everything is personalized in this building. So you, through your smartphone, the building will know your position. You will set the light level and the temperature on an individual basis. And the building will know where you are, and it will follow you all the way, actually, the light level and the temperature. And this is targeting the productivity, of course. And this is where it gets interesting. We've gone from smart to intelligent. In this building, you don't have any office space anymore. When you enter the building in the morning, you get a dedicated area where you're supposed to sit, where where your teammates will be and so forth. And to make this possible, they had to look beyond the smart systems and start looking into an intelligent building. That means that the HVAC controls and the light controls. You have all the sensors there already, and you can use them in a really good way. So that is what is happening, going from smart to intelligent, and that has, we have some serious impact on the technology and how we view technology. And what is happening right now, more and more extent is that, you know, we are seeing a shift in focus from, you know, the traditional buyer. I mean, in the past, it was the, you know, at the construction, there was someone handling the HVAC that was specialized in HVAC, someone in light control system. But nowadays, guess what? It's the CIO that's getting interested into the system. And why is that? Do you have, you know?
Absolutely. I just want to add that, as you said, the CIO becomes more and more involved in building. This building, the Edge in Amsterdam, was quite interesting is that all the sensors, there are 28,000 sensors in this building.
Yeah.
They're used not only to control HVAC or lighting or whatever it might be, but they're used for so much more many more different applications. As you say, to get those sensors to communicate with each other, there is, as I think all of you listening know, I would say there are different waves in connectivity.
Yeah,
and this dramatic increase in connectivity in the buildings is what we see now, and which many refer to when it comes to Internet of Things. How can I get my product or products smart and connected?
Yeah.
But just to go back to the, you know, the 60s, 70s, it all started with TCP IP.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, this is what most part of the web, the network and so on, is built up on. And when we talked about the first wave of connectivity, internet, 1 billion devices, desktop, laptops, and so on got connected during 2010 and so on. Another 3-4 billion devices through smartphones were connected to the network. And now we see this great exponential growth in connected devices due to Internet of Things, where we work with many clients. But the interesting thing is, how do they connect with each other?
Yeah.
And I would say the most common thing is, the dominator is the TCP/IP protocol.
Yeah. Yeah.
And during this conference, talking about the Edge, this building, there was the CIO working with this building. It was very clear. I mean, there's different protocols. It might be KNX, it might be BACnet, it might be Modbus, and so on. And it was quite clear on what he said in his vision. He said, in the future, everything will be based on IP communication.
Yeah. And why is that? I mean, what's the gain, so to speak, when everything talks IP, would you say, Alex?
Well, the thing is, when everything talks IP, you make it very easy to create your own APIs to get access to all the data, because it all starts with a sensor who communicate with the back-end system here on the left side.
And what was, sorry for interrupting, what is an API? I know the answer.
The API is a very simple way of how you can communicate with the back-end systems where you store all your data. Yeah. The thing is, you want to do that in a controllable way, because if you could give access directly to the database for each and every one who wants to have access, you could really ruin the automation system.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of information. There's a lot of data, and data, you know, is a new black.
Yeah.
It's like a huge gold mine.
Yeah.
API is the way how you as a supplier can control how you get access. It stands for application programmable interface.
Yeah.
And you can say you publish your interfaces for the data so that third-party developers can create their own mobile and web applications.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is quite interesting, because what surprised me quite often is when I talk with different customers within buildings, they talk about, I would say 90% is, do you support BACnet, do you support Modbus?
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Yeah, but no one talks about what kind of open APIs do you have? What kind of, what's your REST library? What does it look like?
Yeah.
And this is quite interesting, because if you look at what's happening outside the world, we talk about 2017 becoming the year of the API economy.
Wow.
This is the way of how you get access or gain access to all the data and use it to communicate with other external applications. And there is this huge site called the Programmable Web, which I really can recommend all of you attending to, go into.
Yeah.
Because on this side, there are, to this date, 19,222 open APIs available.
That's massive. Talking this REST protocol and so forth,
Exactly.
so they can communicate with
And
each
you
other.
can use this to connect heat map information, weather information, traffic information, building information, and then you can do some really smart applications based on that.
Wow.
And this is what everyone will get access to. So you really should ask yourself, if you are a product company, what does your API look like? And is your API available on this web?
Yeah, I guess you can get really innovative combining these APIs. I mean, lots of things can happen. I guess that's what the CIO is seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is the interesting part, because there's a lot of information here. If you get access to information, what kind of innovative application can you build based on that?
Oh yeah.
And there are some crazy competitions out there, or contests out there.
I'm gonna start creating this weekend, I can say, for sure. Okay, with the MyROS, we support this. We do a native IPv6 communication, IP communication, which I think is crucial when you design a system. Think IP, because you need to have that to gain access and build the APIs and so forth. Well, okay. Let's jump over to the concrete tips what to consider when launching an IoT solution. For us, it's much about, it's not preparing for a sprint, as we see many times. We just have this short-term thinking. Choosing the right connectivity solution is much about, preparing for a marathon. The products that you will ship out there in the field, I mean, in smart buildings, we talk about, they're going to sit there for 20 years, for instance.
Or even more.
Yeah, even more. Yeah, minimum 20 years, I would say, that's specified. And that's true for other businesses as well. So you really need to, consider and give this a really good thought before you start the design and so forth. And we are here, and we want to try help you in that decision. So we're going to talk about these 7 steps, as we call them. And I mean, towards the end, we have added one bonus. So if you stay to the end, we will have a bonus that's named Start with the Tangible Problems.
I should say also, we as a company, we help our customers make their products smart and connected. And those 7 steps to success is based on the experience of years helping our customers. Whether it's a lighting company named Fagerhult or a huge HVAC company called the Svegon, etc. And those are the insights we will share with you.
Yeah, I mean, we've done this since 2008 now for 10 years, and this is, as you said, this is our experience from the period of time. First of all, I mean, this is one of the most crucial questions, I would say. Are you and your organization ready for takeoff? Because it's not just an R&D thing. So you need to have sales with you, because you can have the greatest product, but no one to sell it. Then you have a huge problem. And I know, Alex, you love this when it comes to organizations and how to transform technology to business. So, I mean,
this is absolutely, Niklas, and this is a topic that is close to my heart here. Is a lot of those customers that we work with, they start on the left side on this grid here. They have a product, and they are selling products, and they have a stock keeping unit number for it. But then things happens when the product becomes smart, it gets some intelligence, it gets connected. Because when it gets connected, you can collect data and push that data into a system where you can use all those different sources for data, where you can, and this is in this example, you have a vehicle that is now connected for plant systems. This is actually an article coming from Harvard Business Review, a couple of years old, but still very valid. What happens when you get more different connected products is that you can create your own systems. In this case, you have tractors, you have planters, you have tillers and harvesters and so on. Combine them into a farm equipment system. And we see this happens all the time. You start in one end, but later on you will have more and more products connected into a full system. But then the interesting thing happens when you realize you have your own data.
Yeah.
And you have someone knocking on your door asking, hey, can I get access to that data? Could it maybe be so that you would be interested in this other kind of data that I would like to share with you?
Yeah.
And you see systems being combined with new systems. And then you get, some really crazy value-based applications that can create new awesome benefits. And I mean, the question, ask yourself, those of you listening here, that where are you on your journey on those 5 different steps?
Yeah, that's a crucial, important question to ask yourself.
And coming back to the organizational part, is if you're selling a product and you're going to sell the same product as a service, as an example, it's a very, very different way of selling. And you need to get the organization with you. You need to educate them. You need to get them to understand the benefits of selling this way. Because if you've been selling an HVAC solution, as an example, and you want to sell indoor climate as a service, it's a very different offering.
Oh, I guess so.
That's why we have put together this 4-step model, because in a time where everyone is talking about digitalization and how to become more digital, we don't think you do this, in one huge leap. You do it by small steps, starting with a small connected product. And then you increase that by, trying to come up with an offering where you can sell it as a service. And then based on the data you collect on the previous slide, you can then start developing new data-driven services based on the value in the infrastructure and the data that you've been collected. So you use it for creating your own new applications. But where it really creates some value is when you open up your APIs and access to your data to create new ecosystems in this API economy. And there are some really good, I don't know if you know what are the big players in this API economy today. Well, of course, it's Facebook and it's Google.
Of course it is.
Google's APIs, they are driving the value of the whole company as such.
Yeah, and there is much value in these companies, of course, for sure. And, they make money on data.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's get back to data and so forth later on. We're going to move on to my favorite topic.
Which is, let's guess, frequencies.
Yeah, hallelujah, I would say. Well, what you see in front of you here is the frequency allocation chart in the US. And what is that? What is that? Well, it is so, I say that frequencies is the most valuable resource we have. And I would say this picture proves that, because these are all the available frequencies in the US, all the available frequencies you can use, actually.
You're allowed to use.
Yeah, you're allowed to use. Yeah. And, it stretches from 30 megahertz to 300 gigahertz, and that's massive.
Yeah.
And you can see here, every frequency is in use by someone. And why I say it's the most valuable resource, you cannot even see it, you cannot rate it, but guess what? The old auctions for the 3G license and 4G license, they were quite massive when it comes to the money they paid these telecom operators. So frequencies are really valuable. And the connectivity for IoT and so forth is driving this forward. So frequencies is becoming more and more valuable. And this has been, recognized by one of the top frequencies gurus. This man, Hubert Snap, in US. He is the chief of the FCC Office of Engineering. He's my idol, I would say.
We need to have a talk after this meeting.
Really think so? No, what he said at an IEEE summit, he said, design now for the interference of things. What do you think that is, Alex?
I thought it was Internet of Things.
Well, so did I. Interference of things, when all these devices start to talk, if you're not paying attention to this problem, what happens if two things from two different systems, it could be lighting and HVAC, are talking on the same frequency? What do you think happens then, Alex?
Well, I would say both of them would probably be jammed out and none of them would work.
Yeah, and they collide, and then you have a Wi-Fi on top of that working on the same frequency. Well, this is becoming a huge problem. And one of the drivers in the world is actually mobility. And this is the trends curve and what is happening now when it comes to mobility, cellular connectivity. And you see a massive expansion here, and this is driven by one thing. You know what that is?
Well, tell me.
It is YouTube and video streaming and so forth. consuming lots of bandwidth. And for those who knows a little bit about frequency, would say, okay, but the mobile phone operators, they have their own frequency. No one is allowed to use them. And when you said Wi-Fi, I mean, that is some frequencies that everybody is using. So why is this impacting? Well, I get back to that. Because what Ericsson is also saying here is that, you know, going forward in the future, short-range connectivity will be the dominator. And what is short-range connectivity? Well, for instance, Wi-Fi and what we do, connectivity all these devices in HVAC and lighting, that is short-range connectivity. And these devices are working on the license-free frequency bands, which everyone is allowed to use. Even microwave ovens use these frequencies, which is not that known actually. But, you know, what is the common denominator now by these license-free frequencies and mobile data, which is using frequencies that only is allowed for mobile phone connectivity? Well, guess what? When you move into buildings which we're talking about much here, 60% of all the data is offloaded to Wi-Fi. That means that this drive for, you know, streaming YouTube to your phone, much of that is happening indoors in the Wi-Fi, competing with everybody else using these frequencies, which can be the IoT system. I mean, I would say the majority of light control systems and HVAC and passage system and so forth in the buildings are using license-free frequencies.
And this is happening everywhere, isn't it, Niklas?
The
last update of the iPhone operating system, iOS, I noticed that even although you switch off the Wi-Fi network, if you try to do that,
it turns on.
It turns on itself again.
Amazing.
Amazing. But why?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, combine this, and also, I mean, Ericsson, that they don't make money on short-range connectivity. They make money on wide area IoT. They are saying that short-range license fee is going to be the dominator in the future. So, okay, I'm not trying to say that it's going to be impossible. It is going to be possible, but it is a problem. It even so that DARPA, which is a department under defense in the US, they actually had this competition where they say, okay, first prize goes to the winner. The winner will have $2 million. The winner will have $2 million actually for doing what? What do you think, Alex? Or what do you think, the audience?
Solving a problem.
Oh, solving a problem, of course, but solving the most critical problems in the future.
Could it be interference of things?
Interference of things.
Cool.
And this is how we solve it. What we do is that we try to avoid frequency. We are predicting in the future which frequencies to use and so forth. And thus, what we do, what's happening then is that we are using frequencies that are not used by anyone else. And that means that we don't interfere with anyone else. You can still use your Wi-Fi, and using our system, you can use your IoT system as well. So this is incorporated in Myra OS, and we have done lots of research on this, of course. So that was about the interference of things and frequencies, the most valuable natural resource of the future. Well, let's move on now. One other critical thing to consider is maintenance. Now, a few years ago, I had this talk with an R&D manager, and he showed me this picture. And I must ask you, Alex, you probably know the answer because I asked before. What is this?
A shoe?
A shoe? Wrong answer. What this R&D manager said, he was a little bit frustrated. He said, okay, this is our firmware update shoe.
But isn't this very good for companies like Nike?
Oh yeah, they love this.
If you had thousands and thousands and thousands of products connected in your building.
Yeah, and what he meant was, he had just done this. They had a serious issue in field. They shipped a lot of products, and they didn't have any automated firmware update system. They couldn't update these over air. So what he said, we had to buy a pile of sneakers, trainers, and a few USB sticks and run around in the building.
But of course.
Yeah, and you can realize when I have thousands and thousands of sensors, this becomes really expensive.
And that's why this is our third advice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, address this question as early as possible in the project.
Exactly. Think about firmware updates over the air, maintenance. You must do that. I mean, otherwise you can be ruined because I would say it like this: you will have undocumented features. Some call them a bug.
You do? That would never happen.
No, not us. Never. But also, what is critical here is that you will want to upgrade the firmware for new business-driven functionality. When you launch the product, you will gain insight, and you will want to update firmware because you want to implement new business-driven features. Exactly. That's why it's important.
And that's what we've seen with our customers, that you know, when they launch the new connected smart products to the customers, they request new features.
Yeah.
And how do you know roll them out on the field when you have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of products out there?
Yeah,
you need to have a smart way of doing this.
Exactly. And we address this along with other things in MyOS. We have the firmware update over the air capabilities, but we also have device management, which is quite crucial for managing the systems in the field. Okay, over to another hot topic, I would say. And I'm gonna be a little bit bold here and say, you know, security is important, much talked about, but you know, you shouldn't, overdo it, the security. You can get stuck in, a discussion about should we implement, blockchain technology and all these things, which is not really ready. I would say, I mean, security is quite important, but when it comes to hacker behaviors, what they tend to do, they are always looking for the easy way in. They are a bunch of lazy people, and they love to get an easy way in and easy access to a system where they can make money. This hacking business become a great, big business. Yeah, and this is actually a real example from a router manufacturer. I won't mention their name actually, but if you see here, you set your username and password, and in many cases you have the username as set as admin, and then you have a password set as password. And I just love the text here. Forgot your password? Please press the restore factory defaults button to reset to your default passwords. I mean, you don't need, also zero skill hacking knowledge in the system. Really. So, I mean, obviously, don't do these easy things because,
so don't overdo it, but don't underdo it either.
Don't underdo it either, because, I mean, there are, we have the Shoda network, which actually you can scan for open systems that has these default passwords set to them. So yeah, don't overdo it, but don't underdo it as well. What we have done in Mira is that we have added security on link layer. We have a pretty tight encryption of all the communication going on in the network, but always things end-to-end security. And if you have a gateway into the building, for instance, don't use this default password and so forth, because then you are vulnerable to attacks, of course. Okay, let's move on to the next topic: design for change.
And what kind of advice is that?
Well, seems like you have an idea of this.
No, but so it might be because we realize that you always will be there will always be a need for adaptation, to be able to adapt for other new features requested by customers. And you will come into a point in the product development where you would like to add new features.
Yeah.
And quite often, that's really my experience. Product companies, they focus on one thing, and that's cost of the product, to get it as low as possible. And our recommendation here is also that take the needs of tomorrow into account when doing your design development. So you have some spare room, in the electronics, but also in other topics as memory and so on as well. So you can have the spare room to roll out new features, because change happens. This is a very illustrative picture from the inauguration of Pope Benedict in 2005 compared to Pope Francis. They're exactly the same place 8 years later.
Yeah, and I would say no one in 2005 would imagine they will have an iPhone in their hand, taking these photos.
Exactly.
But change happened, and I mean, unleashing the creativity with these open APIs, if you do that, change will happen to your system as well.
Change will happen today. 2005, you didn't control your HVAC system using a phone. You actually had the thermostat on the wall. Today, you use a phone.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you control the HVAC system using voice.
Yeah.
And you have a zero user interface.
Yeah.
How do you adapt to that?
Exactly. So our tip, getting back to this, I mean, firmware updates over there is crucial because, you will want to upgrade firmware for new business-driven functionality. Changes happen. So, unleashing this, having this API, you will unleash a massive innovation. If you have an open API, you combine it, that will drive, a need for firmware updates and new functionality. And, unleashing this massive innovation will mean more business. So don't focus 100% on cost, of course, because it's, add that extra capacity. And talk about the capacity. Do you know what this is?
A horseshoe? No, just kidding.
No, not really. Not really.
It's a computer.
It is a computer. Yes, it is. This is a beauty from the 85.
Very cheap.
Yeah, not. This was the Cray 2 supercomputer released in 85. And this computer was used for the most advanced simulations for space shuttles and so forth by NASA. But what's interesting nowadays is, in 2010, we got the iPhone 4. That one had the same capacity as the Cray 2. Wow, I would say. And you know what's happening nowadays? You have these small CPUs for edge computing, very low cost actually, but 4 of them today has the same capacity as the Cray 2 that did the most advanced simulations for the space shuttles.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So if you add that little bit of extra to your sensors, you will gain access to this. And I mean, virtually will have supercomputers there in every sensor, measured with the 85 standards, of course. But anyway, they were used for the advanced simulations. So, I mean, any building like this, you will have thousands of them. And if you connect to them into a network, communicating with each other, I mean, they will start resembling a brain, actually. From smart to intelligent. And I mean, basically, that is what we've seen happening today. Edge computing is getting popular, but it is for a reason. So, and in MyOS, you can do this. We have an application area and we have chipset support for the most advanced, CPUs there is actually today for edge computing, which will allow you design for change in the future. So, next topic, what about ownership of data? Well, that is becoming quite a hot topic today.
It is actually. I have to say that this is a topic that a lot of companies actually forget during their development, because they use different cloud services. Everyone uses different cloud services, and then later on, when they launch their new great product that is smart and connected, they realize that they don't own the data because it's used by someone else.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they get really surprised because they have been feeding someone else's IoT platform with their own data.
Yeah.
And now have to pay and get access to it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit strange. Everybody focus on, okay, the data is the new oil, but you as a product company, that you focus on that part is, for me, sometimes a bit strange because, of course, the customer, they want to own their own data.
But of course.
And the real value, as we said, the API economy. That lies in the API. That's where you should put your effort in. Define, and develop a crisp API, and then you can make money out of the data, because that will bring value to the customer.
Exactly.
Of course. So that is, I mean, that is about ownership of data, which is crucial for your product. So, and in the MyOS, I mean, the workhorse for this is the IPv6 engine, I would say. We do standard IP communication, as we already say. You can build API on top of this one. So, moving forward, one of my favorites, don't forget the installation. I mean, all of these 1,000 sensors and actuators, they need to be installed and commissioned.
And this is actually one of the topics we see as the real business case behind IoT also.
Yeah.
A lot of our customers actually, the business case is relying on reducing the cost of installation, troubleshooting when the installation has been done. With wireless connected products that are smart and wireless connected, this cost can reduce to almost nothing, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love this. So a tricky question now. What is this? Well, it's not a shoe.
The way to the cloud?
Oh, well, it can be. Some would say a ladder.
Yeah.
But if you see this picture, you might understand what it is actually. I mean, these two, I call this the button pressing stick Mark II.
Mark II, right?
Yeah. The Mark I didn't have a glove on it, so they destroy the buttons. I mean, getting serious here. These two tools actually, the ladder and the button pressing stick, have been quite common when you have installing and commissioning devices that are in places that are hard to get. And
on many systems today, I'm sure you've seen it also, Niklas. There is this, connect button that needs to be pressed.
Yeah.
And then you have a gateway where you have another button that you need to press also.
Yeah. I mean, thousands of sensors there is, and our customer Svegon, they exactly this was the find that they did, and kind of initiated the product, going from wired to wireless sensors. I mean, they reduced the costs quite significantly when it comes to installation and commissioning. Of course, they added flexibility and all these other things, but this was one of the main drivers actually. So we should always consider the installation. It is crucial. Okay, now the bonus.
The bonus.
Wow.
Yeah.
The +1. Start with the simple, tangible problems. Okay, this goes hand in hand with what we had just spoke about. Installation. That was tangible problems, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a great example where we see our customers reduce the cost for installation and starting with a really simple, tangible problem.
Yeah.
I reckon that today a lot of companies are talking about what's your strategy when it comes to digitalization of your business revenue and so on.
Yeah.
I would say let's wait. Start on those simple problems, because if you have taken the consideration of designing for change, you will be able to later on upgrade your system with new functionality.
I mean, as you started with, are your organization ready for takeoff?
Yeah.
I mean, this goes hand in hand with that one. I mean, okay, we have a problem here. Installation cost is huge. Everybody understands that. Addressing that, then you have a business case. And so I would say, you've probably seen this machine. Don't try to, create problems that it doesn't solve real ones. You've probably seen this one when you flick the switch to arm, then there is a small arm
coming up, putting it off.
Putting it off.
Yeah.
Talk about creating a problem. Try to solve real ones, and just another stupid example, diet slim water. What does that solve? I don't know if it solves anything or if it's a joke. That is
that was a new one.
Yeah, that's a new one actually.
Is it from your own refrigerator?
Yeah, diet water, yeah. Well, start with simple tangible problems like this one. That is crucial. Because then, of course, as we just said, you will have some savings in the system. And as you said, Alex, starting with these tangible problems, that's often a start with the smart connected products. You don't start with the new data-driven services, because it's quite hard for an organization to transform from a product organization to a service organization.
Oh, yeah. You need to take it step by step. Yeah. And what we see also, one of our customers now, you mentioned Svegon, an HVAC company. By the end of this year, there will be more than 300 buildings using their control system for HVAC. Yeah. And those real estate owners for those 300 buildings, there will be some really great new services, data-driven services that they now can get access to.
Yeah, exactly. And I state like this. If you start with the tangible problems, you are on the path, and you will find new business-driven, services and whatever might be out there. Because as we said in the previous slides, you will unleash this creativity, we get new insights. And just giving one example, what happens if you have, these presence sensors in the building. You have this open API, and if you could create a heat map, would that be interesting for someone? You know.
Well, in retail, this is everything.
Yeah.
Where do you have your customers in your retail store? How do they move around? And what different areas do you have most sales per square meter or square feet? This is a huge interest. And that data is there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, an HVAC system can produce this sort of lighting system.
Absolutely,
they have presence sensor. And I guess, I mean, for the facility, we had this $30 thing. I mean, you can address that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for real estate owners, it's all about how can I get more money per square meter.
Yeah, as always. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, if you start with tangible problems, you know, all of a sudden you will be surprised when you get insight from the market space. You will want to upgrade system and so forth, and you know, to things like this that can bring more money to you through this API. But as we started, I mean, these 7 steps, 7 plus 1, I would say, we'd say, you know, it's not about a sprint, it's about a marathon. And that is what we are trying and focusing on helping our customer, because that's why we believe in future-proof connectivity, because the systems that they're going to ship, I mean, they're going to live there for quite so many years. They need to be future-proof. You don't, I mean, if you are an R&D manager or working with R&D, you don't really want to be the one that designs an inferior system that will be outdated, you know, just in 3, 4, 5 years time.
Exactly.
But the product is going to be there for 20 years.
And to conclude then, isn't that what you've been telling us now, Niklas, that you need to address the interference question because you're not alone out there. Exactly. You need to consider how do you take care of maintenance is one thing.
Yeah.
Don't overdo security, you said.
But don't underdo it.
Don't underdo.
No.
So that you start trying to create your next generation of products. Design for change, you said also. So you have some spare room, and then you said consider who owns the data and how you address that in an early state. But also don't forget installation.
Yeah.
And the last thing.
Start with the tangible problem.
Exactly.
And then you are on the path of, you know,
a future-proof connectivity.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. So I say that pretty much ends this webinar. And now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Yes. So thank you. And now you can ask your questions. So look for the question mark icon on the GoToWebinar control panel, and you can ask your questions. We have someone's raising their hand here. You can see now here. So we have a chance for everyone to send in the questions. It's the question mark icon that you're supposed to use. Okay, we have one question here. If you want to build in your wireless technology, how do you approach that task?
If you want, could you please say it again, Lars? Yeah. If you would like to build on our own.
If you want to build in your wireless technology, radios, how do you approach that?
Well, the easiest way is to actually buy what we call a Better World kit. It's a development kit where you can start to create some real fancy stuff. You will get access to radio modules, you will get access to the operating system, so you can start to prototype your own smart connected products.
Yeah.
And what do you say, Niklas? That is the most common thing among our customers. They start that.
Yeah, they start. I mean, it's easy to start. If we focus, I mean, all the steps that we've been talking about there. I mean, that's pretty much designed into the Better World kit, you know, so you can get the flying start quite easy, I would say.
And using that kit, it's very easy also to prototype your own ideas, so you can start to prove the business case.
Yeah.
Many of our customers who buy this development kit from us, they connect to different sensors, create their own application, use this API that we've been talking about to create some great apps, and then they present the application for the management team so that they can decide on a more thorough budget and business case for them to develop when it comes to the next generation product.
Exactly. Seeing is believing, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good question.
Okay, let's see if we can have any more questions coming in here before we close down the webinar for today. Yeah, I don't seem to have any more questions. So what I would like to do that is I just would like to say that you will get an email after this webinar with information that and also contact information, of course, so you can get in contact with Niklas and Alexander after the webinar. And I would like to say thanks to you, Niklas and Alexander, and of course all the people that took their time today and joined this webinar. So if we don't have any more questions for Niklas and Alexander, we are closing down the webinar. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much.
For listening. Thanks.
Bye-bye.